Math with Mr. Williams, example 1. Solving polynomial equations. Solve each equation. Okay, so here we have the monomial 2x times the binomial x minus 4, and that equals 0. So what I like to do is I like to use a t-chart and break this up. So using that zero product property, I can take the 2x and set him equal to 0. And then I can take the binomial of x minus 4 and set him equal to 0. And then I can just solve my equation. So we have 2 times x equals 0. So I'm going to use my inverse property here. I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides, giving my x equals 0 on the left. And on the right, I see x minus 4 equals 0. So I'm going to cancel out that minus 4 by adding 4 to both sides, giving x equals 4. So my roots are x equals 0 and x equals 4. All right, on to the second one. Again, I like to use the t-chart. And then using my 0 property rule, I have x minus 3. I'm going to set that equal to 0, and then x minus 9 equals 0. To cancel out the minus 3, I use my inverse property, so I'm going to add 3 to both sides. On the left, the 3's cancel out, giving me x equals 0 plus 3 is 3. On the right, we have x minus 9 equals 0, so we're going to add 9 to both sides. The 9's cancel out on the left, giving me x equals 9. So my roots in this case are x equals 3 and x equals 9. All right, on the last one, we have 2x plus 7 as a binomial, and that's being multiplied to a 2x minus 7 as a binomial, and that equals 0. So again, we're going to go ahead and use that t-chart. So we have 2x plus 7 equals 0, and 2x minus 7 equals 0. So to cancel this out, we're going to start off by canceling out the addition first. So to cancel addition, we subtract 7 from both sides, giving us 2x on the left equals 0 minus 7 is a negative 7. Now, I can't have the 2 there, so I need to divide by 2 on both sides. So x equals a negative 7 over 2 as an answer for one of them. And then I'm going to the next one, so we have 2x minus 7 equals 0. Instead of subtraction, I'm going to add 7 to both sides, giving me 2x equals 7. Divide by 2 again. And x this time equals a positive 7 over 2. So my roots in this case are x equals negative 7 over 2 and x equals 7 over 2. Mr. Williams, example 2, solving polynomial equations. Solve. So we have the binomial x minus 1 squared equals 0. So if I take that square and I apply it, we have 2 of the same binomials. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my t-chart. I'm going to set each one equal to 0. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cancel out using my inverse property, and I'm going to add 1 on both sides, giving me x equals 1 on the left, and the same thing on the right, x equals 1. So this has repeated roots of x equals 1. All right, on to the second one. Here we have 3 binomials that would equal 0 when they're multiplied together. So we can see these 2 are repeated. Let's go ahead and draw our chart. This time, instead of a t-chart, I'm just going to make a couple of columns so we can put all the binomials in. So in the first one, we have x plus 1. We're going to set that equal to 0. The second one, we're going to have x minus 3, have that equal to 0. And lastly, the other x plus 1 equals 0. So I'm going to cancel out that plus 1 by subtracting 1 from both sides. X equals negative 1. And the middle one, we have x minus 3 equals 0, so we're going to add 3 to both sides, giving us x equals 3. And the last one, we have the x plus 1, so we're going to take away 1 from both sides, giving us x equals a negative 1. All right, so my roots on this one, x equals negative 1, and x equals 3. And the negative 1 is the repeater. Math with Mr. Williams. Example 3, factoring a polynomial using the greatest common factor. Factor out the greatest common factor from 4x to the 4th power plus 24x to the 3rd. So let's go ahead and write that down. Today we're going to practice using the area model. All right, so the greatest common factor between 4 and 24 would be 4. And what times 4 gets me 4? Well, that's just 1. And what times 4 is 24? Well, that's just going to be 6. All right, and what is the biggest number of x's I can take away? Well, the first one has 4x to the 4th. There's 4 of those x's there. So if I'm going to hint myself down this way, there are 4 of those. And the second one I see there are 3. Well, it looks like I can take away 3 from each one. So I'm going to say x to the 3rd is going to come out front, and what's left inside would just be 1 more x on this one and 0 x's on the last one. So in this case, I see my plus here, so I'm going to bring him up. And now I have my factored form. So let's go ahead and rewrite it. We have 4x to the 3rd times x plus 6 as my factored form. Math with Mr. Williams. Example 4. Solving equations by factoring. Solve each equation. So in the first one we have 2x squared plus 8x equals 0. So we're going to go ahead and factor that first. So what's the biggest number I can take out of a 2 and 8? Well, 2. And then what's left over? So the first one, what times 2 is 2? It'd be just 1 plus, and we have 2 times what is 8? Well, that's 4. All right, what's the biggest x value I can take away? Well, I have the first one has 2 of them, the second one has 1. So the biggest one I can take away would just be 1 from each one, leaving me x in the first term and no x's in the second. So I'm going to set that equal to 0. Now I'm going to draw my t-chart. So I have 2x equals 0, and I have x plus 4 equals 0. All right, so I see 2 times x. I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides, giving me x equals 0 on the left. Then I have x plus 4 equals 0, so I'm going to cancel out the plus by subtracting 4 from both sides, giving me x equals a negative 4. So my roots in the first one are x equals 0 and x equals negative 4. All right, on to the second one. So I have 6n squared equals 15n. Well, I know I want to use that 0 property, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that 15n to the other side. To do that, I'm going to subtract it. Now, I can't take that away from the 6n squared, so I'm going to rewrite this now as 6n squared minus 15n, and now it equals 0. Now I'm going to go ahead and factor it. So what can go into 6 and 15? Well, the biggest number I can take out of each is going to be a 3. So what's left inside the box? So what times 3 is 6? Well, that's a 2. And what times 3 is 15? Well, that's going to be a 5. Bring down the minus. All right, now look at my n's. I have n squared, and I have an n on the second one. So what's the biggest number of n's I can take out? Well, just one n. So in the first one, there was 2, so I need to put another one back in. But in the last term, I don't need to put anything back in because I've already taken that one away. All right, let's go ahead and draw our t-chart. Set each one equal to 0. So we have the 3n equals 0, and we have 2n minus 5 equals 0. So how do I get rid of 3 times n? I divide by 3 on both. N equals 0 on the left. And now I have 2n minus 5, so let's get rid of the subtraction first. So instead of subtraction, I'm going to add to cancel it out on both sides. So now I have 2n equals 0 plus 5 is 5. I can't leave it like that. I need to divide by 2 on both sides, giving me n equals 5 over 2. All right, so my roots. The first one would be n equals 0, and the second would be n equals 5 over 2.